Hello, this is Sabina from Cross Keys Crafts. Today I would like to show you how to make a very simple and foolproof shaker card similar to this one. As you can see, we've got some die cuts here, some cutouts that I have filled with glitter. I have embossed the top layer and have added a die cut sentiment. All you need for a simple card like this is some outline die cuts. You can see I have chosen some butterflies here, but you can also choose simple shapes like hearts or stars. They make a very nice card for younger people, or even things like balloons. But anything that sort of shows the shape just as an outline is fine. You can see these are detailed butterflies, but all we need today is the outline. I have already cut my layers. I have chosen a pattern paper for the background. This will shine through in the background of the butterflies, but it will also give a nice frame. The panel that we cut into, I have cut quite a bit smaller because my embossing folder is fairly small, so this is just wide enough to fit this embossing folder. If you have got bigger embossing folders, you can leave a smaller frame around this. Then, and this is a secret to this card, you need some clear bags or some acetate, some sleeves, any sort of thing that you can use to create a little bag. I'll show you how to do that because this is a secret to this shaker card. I have found in the past if you just use foam tape, it might come apart and then the sequins can leak. I've had that in one case where the card got destroyed in the post, and this makes it really safe. Then I have chosen, first of all I should say, I have decided how to outline this. Make sure when you lay out your dies that they're not too close to the edge because you need to conceal the clear bag a bit. So I will tape these down in a moment with my removable tape. And I have chosen a little sentiment to stamp on the card. This, by the way, is actually half of this stamp. Don't be afraid to cut down stamps if you need them. So this will say happy birthday from all of us, because I've got a special lady in mind whose birthday is coming up in September who will receive this card. Then you need something to fill the shaker card. I have chosen various sequins. They are all heart shaped in different colours. I get these from different shops like Poundland here in the UK. The Card Factory has got a good section, and sometimes you get them at Home Bargains or B&M. So these are all ones that I've collected. Yes, and then I've got my die cutting machine ready and also my embossing powder to emboss this. So the first thing I'm going to do is tape down these butterflies where I want them to sit. I've decided to keep this plainer one in the middle. I'm doing the easy thing today with my card here. I cut two little bags to go behind this and to go behind this. But with this one today, I will just have one big bag going behind these, so I keep them more or less in one row so that the shaker bits don't go too far at the bottom. So just tape these down so they won't move in the die cutting machine. Okay. Looks. So that goes in here. I might be off screen for a second. There we go. So you might see these are left behind. I can use them for a different project, but I don't need these now. all I need are the outlines here. Wonderful. So then I'm going to dry emboss this, but because I want to put the sentiment at the bottom, I'm not going to emboss the whole card. I will just emboss the top bit, maybe about here, so it leaves me enough space that is not embossed to put the sentiment on. So I'm not quite sure whether this is the right sandwich. Sometimes you have to play around a bit. You can, if you want to, depends on the embossing folder, you can mist the cardstock a bit with water, so that's not enough of a shim, so I'll add another shim. I've got a metal shim here that I can use, and sometimes it works to build up the sandwich and see how it goes. So this is not enough just yet. I should have used the other shim, but play around with your own die cutting machine and see what works for you. See, that's too much, so I'm taking this one out. There we go. Lovely. Doesn't matter which way around you dry emboss your cardstock, but I actually quite like it the way I put it in. Have a bit more of the background sort of cut it into here. So make sure you cut the shapes out first before you dry emboss, because otherwise it will be quite difficult to cut it. Okay, I can put this aside now. So both of these are quite new stamps, so make sure you wipe them a bit with your fingers to get rid of whatever you have, whatever residue you have from the production. So I've got my powder tool here. Make sure it removes all residue. And I just use a stamping block. You can use your stamping tool, the big one. I will do these separately because these are both from different stamp sets, and I sometimes find that some stamps are deeper than others, so I will definitely do these separately. So I've got my Versamark ink. Make sure that is fully saturated. Placing this in the middle. Try not to wriggle too much, just keep it down. Oh, and there, I haven't done it properly. That's where it's better to have a stamping platform. See if I can do that again without ruining it too much. I think I got away with it there, we'll see. Anyway, it's a handmade card. It doesn't matter if it's a bit imperfect. For this one I will use a smaller acrylic block. I find it sometimes easier to handle. So, and again, make sure it's straight. There we go. The Versamark will stay wet enough for you to add the embossing powder. I have chosen, oh, this is the wrong box. Good thing I have got them labelled. I have chosen silver embossing powder. I have decided to put my main embossing powders into these clip boxes because then I don't need to spread out a piece of paper, or other people use coffee filters. This just allows me to do it right above the box, add the embossing powder, and I can put any residue straight back into the box. A bit of a tap. Yes. So I'm going to heat up the heat tool. Apologies for the noise. Ideally, heat it up from the back first, and then heat it from the front. If you find sometimes your cardstock gets a bit bendy, you can always put it through the die cutting machine again. Yes, you can see I've double stamped a bit, but I think it doesn't matter. So now we're going to fill the back and create the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how big my bag has to be. Please allow a bit where you have to close the bag with sellotape. I'm going to use a marker, and I'm going to mark just very roughly the edge of the card, making sure that I've covered all the butterflies there. And I'm going to cut this to size. As you can see, I have left 2 of the edges because that means they're already sealed, which helps me to make sure they don't leak. The sequins don't leak out. So I'm using my sellotape to close the edge off. It's better to close the long edge off first and just leave the small edge to fill the thing. I have got very wide sellotape. I don't know if you can see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down a bit just to make sure the sellotape doesn't show through the butterflies. If you've got slimmer sellotape, you might not have to do that. So, and this gives you a lovely little bag, and you can fill in your sequins now. I'm just choosing a random mix here of different colours, different sizes they are as well. Got plenty of these, so I'll use plenty of these. You can also use some coarse glitter, as I've done in the other one. I might just get some in a moment. So when you've done that, just play around a bit and have a look if you like the mix and if you've got plenty. Keep in mind that when you've got the card like this, they all drop to the bottom a bit, so you want to fill them up enough. And as you can see, because I've lowered this a bit, these don't show a lot, so you have to fill, definitely have to fill it a bit more. I might just add some glitter. Just go and get that from the cupboard. Yeah, I've got some pink glitter here that will go very nice with the card background. Yeah, that should be enough. So once you've done that, you seal this edge off as well. This might actually be a bit too short. Yep. And as before, cut off any excess. Oh, a bit of a fold in the bag. Make sure the bag itself is as flat as possible on the edges. Use a different pair of scissors now. There we go. So, and now you can attach this to the back. What I do is I just use some double-sided tape, but make sure you leave a bit of a gap to actually fill in some foam tape, because we need to give this some height to actually being able to move around. So you can use some construction glue if you want to, but I just prefer normal tape. If you have individual bags, which you can do, just make sure you've got enough space between the individual shapes to hide the edges of the bags, and then make sure you've attached them all properly. So make sure tape is well hidden. This is probably the trickiest bit, getting the tape off. So, sure it's covering all the shapes. There we go. So now we need to give this some bulk so that it can actually move freely behind the card, because if we just stuck that down it would just be too flat. So we need either some foam tape or some foam squares or rectangles. I like it to be rather neat on the edges, just in case a recipient looks at it, but it's really up to you. So I'm going to use some foam tape for this one. On this. If you mix foam tape and foam squares, make sure they've all got the same depth, because I've found in the past that they actually have got different depth. If you need just a slimmer strip, it's easier, rather than using your scissor, it's easier to cut this thing on the roll. So I don't know if you can see me do this. So I'm cutting the strip in half on the roll. Probably do with a butter knife here. Nope, it didn't work. Never mind, I'll give it a try. I've got these scissors, they're supposed to be non-stick, but they're not 100% non-stick. So if you get sticky scissors, just use a bit of alcohol on the blade and just to wipe it off. So when you've cut this like this, make sure the neat edge is on the outside. So again, as I said, it looks neater for the recipient. Try to keep it within the on the edge so that you can't see this tape through the butterfly. If you've got a spare one, that can just go there. Same on the other side. and then just a bit for the top. Another tip to cut this is if you have some spare strip of this, the cover bit, then you can put this on there and just cut through there. But I haven't saved any from other projects, so I just do it like this. Too short there, but it doesn't really matter. I can pop this little thing in there and then it looks neat enough. So, and this is more or less all you need to do, is to stick this on here on this card and then stick the whole thing on the card base. I have chosen to do a 5x7 card today, but you can do this any size really. Depends on what cardstock you have. If you send it in the post, sometimes it's better to have the smaller ones. And I've done that. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to line this up on my grid here, so it's easier for me to get this straight. Press it down. What I think I might do after I've stopped the video is glue these bits down a bit so they don't stick out like that. So then that's your shaker card. Very simple, very foolproof, because these sequins won't come out. And even though I can't show you this now, but even if it sits up, the recipient can still see some sequins. Okay, I hope you like this video. If you like it, you can subscribe. This, of course, is my first video, but I'm planning to do many more as often as I can. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.